Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. So, congratulations on all the progress you've made so far on your CSS journey. So, now we want to take things even further and explore another very fundamental concept in CSS, and that is layout. Now, there are so many ways to go about implementing layouts using CSS, but I promised that in this video I was going to help you um, not to waste your time on every other thing else and just focus on the best way to do things and best way to do things in the industry, right? So basically there are two ways to go about layout. One is Flexbox and the other one is Grid. Now for this video we're going to talk about Flexbox, right? So when you talk about layouts, you are talking about how you arrange the elements on the screen. When you're looking at a website, um, think about layout as how the elements are arranged in the screen. Certain things are arranged, some portions, when you come to this when you come to some portions of the screen, things are kind of arranged horizontally. In some other portion, things are arranged vertically. All of that is what layout is about, and I'm going to show you how you can use Flexbox to implement very flexible layouts in your designs. Now, another thing to remember is when you're talking about layouts, remember that people who look at your website are going to be looking using screen sizes, using devices with different screen sizes. So you're going to have to put that in mind and remember that the way your website appears will on a particular screen depends on the size of that screen. So for instance, when someone is people can access your website using from their mobile phone. Sometimes people access it on their laptop. So the screen size of a laptop is obviously different from that of a mobile phone. So you're going to have to think about how your website will appear on the mobile phone and how it will appear on let's a larger screen, let's say like a laptop. So that is what we call responsiveness. So a website that basically responds to the screen size of the device that the users are using to access it, um, that is what we call responsive website. So you Flexbox allows you to achieve responsiveness. So let's just dive into it. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do on our CSS, there's basically nothing here, and in our HTML file, we just have inside the body, we just have a div with a class of container. So what we're gonna do is, um, I'm gonna give this div, I'm gonna style this div a bit. So I'm gonna give it a border, just so that actually, so I'm gonna give it a border, um, border color of green, um, border style of solid, and then border size, no, border width actually of 2 pixels, and then I'm gonna save it. So the next thing I'm gonna do is to create some other divs inside. So I'm gonna create a couple of divs, let's say like 5 of them. So to do that, I want to create a div with a class of let's say item. So I can just do item, and then I'll do times 5. Okay, so the period here says create a div with a class of item and create it in 5 places, and then I hit tab and then it gives it to me. So I'm just gonna put one. I know what, so I'm just okay, yeah, let me just do 1 2 3 4 and 5, and I save. So I'm gonna run this, yeah, and do go live, and I'm gonna just bring it down here. Okay, so um, okay, cool. So if you look at this, you will see nothing fancy, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is to style item. I want you to be able to see things clearly. So I'm going to style item. So item, because I'll put a period. So I'm going to do, okay, give it a background color of red. And then, actually this is a semicolon. Then I give it a height of 100 pixels and a width of 100 pixels. Okay, and yeah, this should be fine. Okay, let me do a margin of just 10 pixels. So if you look at this and you see basically what you have here is, let me move this away. So what you have here is, okay, because let's see the color. So I'm going to change the color of the numbers. So I'm going to make it white so that it can stand out against the red background. Okay, this is not very let me increase the font size. I'll make the font size 30 pixels. Okay, cool. This is better. It can be better, but we can work with this. Now, what you will notice is by default, each of the elements or each of the divs we have inside the container div, so by default they are stacked on top of each other, right? So you have this vertical layout. So by default, the browser arranges elements vertically. There are times when you don't want that. There are times when you want things to be arranged horizontally, right? So that is what layout is about. So you can use Flexbox to achieve that. Now, when you talk about Flexbox, there are two things to keep in mind. There is the container, which is the Flexbox itself, and then every element that is a child of that container is the flex item. So first of all, you need to first of all define which element is your Flexbox, and then everything else inside that element becomes the flex items automatically. Now, we want to arrange elements, want to define the layout within this div with a green border. Now, that div is the div with a class of container. So for us to define the layout, we need to first of all convert it into a flex box, and we do that by giving it a display property. So we say display, and guess what? Flex. So the value of the display property is going to be flex. Now this converts this div with a class of container into a flex box or a flex container. Now you can see the moment we do that, you see the elements inside it adjust. So a flex container, basically the default layout of a flex container is horizontal. So the children of the flex box will be arranged horizontally, right? Now that is the default. Sometimes this is what you want, sometimes this might not be what you want, but just so you know, that's the default. Now there are a couple of properties that you can use. As far as Flexbox is concerned, there are properties there are properties you can use on the flex container itself, and then there are properties you can use on the flex items. That's the children of the element with the that has a display property of flex. So let's talk about the properties for the flex box. So the first property you want to talk about is flex direction. Right, now flex direction determines the direction of the items. Like I said, by default it is row, right? So you can just say row. This is the default. You don't have to do that, because even if you don't do it, that's the default. You see, nothing changes. But sometimes you want it to be column, so you can do column, and you see everything is just stacked vertically, right? Now sometimes you want it column or row, but you want the elements to be reversed, like you want 5 to be 1, so there you can use row column reverse. Okay, so it's still column, but the elements are now reversed, and you can achieve the same thing um row. So if you want row reverse, you can also achieve that. So you see, row reverse. Now everything just goes to the other side, and you start from 5 instead of 1, right? So basically, that is how that is how the flex direction property works. The other thing is you can have um, now if you look at this, there's something I want you to take note of. Let's just bring back things the way they were. So we're not going to put this, so let things just be arranged. Now if I continue to add more element inside this, right, let me just keep adding. Okay, you see, it just keeps increasing, right? And if I keep adding, just notice what happens. You see, the sizes of each item is reducing, right, to accommodate the size of this viewport. That's what is going on here, and that is what responsiveness is all about. Now if what happens if I minimize this, you can see if I further reduce the size of the um, if I further reduce the size of the viewport, the individual sizes of each element reduces also, right? So that is responsiveness. Okay, now you can see that by default, if I keep on adding elements, um, the number of elements or the number of items keep increasing, but the size of each item keeps shrinking. So what if I don't want that? What if I want it that I want it to maintain the same size, but the moment it hits the limit of the screen, it should start coming to the next line, right? So I can achieve that. So I can say um, I think the property is flex wrap. Yes, flex wrap. So by default, it is no wrap. So it doesn't wrap. It just keeps on increasing the number and reducing the size of each one. But sometimes I don't want that. I want it to maintain the size, but come down to the next line and keep going. So there you will do wrap. Okay, and you see. So the size of each item doesn't reduce, it just keeps increasing, and when it can no longer take another element, it just gracefully comes to the next line. Okay, so this is what Flexbox does for you. And if I now force the size of the screen to reduce, you can see the size of each element is maintained, but I now have more number of rows. Okay, so this is the wonders of Flexbox. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna just take this out again. So I'm gonna leave out let's say like 3. Okay, so we can explore other properties. Okay, so what if I want to arrange how much space the items take within the container? So you can see there's still much space. So I can do justify content. So justify content takes a couple of things. You can do center, and this will take everything and put it at the center. Okay, you can do that. You can also do um, flex start. Okay, justify content flex start, it puts it at the beginning of the box itself. You can also do flex end. Okay, so it takes it to the end. Okay, and then you can also do um, space between. Okay, so it kind of creates equal space between each of the elements. And then you can also do space around. um, okay, so space around, it creates equal margin to the borders, towards the borders of the flex container. And then you also have um, space between, space around, then you have space evenly. Okay, so there's this also. So this is really just like the name implies, it's a flex box. It allows you to create flexible layouts. Okay, um yeah, so you can also do justify content. Okay, sorry, align items. So you may want to also you know, align items. Now, the difference between justify content and align items is the fact that justify content will arrange things horizontally. Align items will basically handle the vertical alignment. So you can do center, you can do end or flex end. Okay, so you may not notice this because let me see if I can increase the height of this guy. So height, let me say 50% of the viewport. Why didn't the height? Hold on. Okay, let's not sweat this. Um, Maybe I'll have the opportunity to demonstrate this in a later video or in a later demonstration. Okay, so let's stick to this. Now we've seen pretty much most of the things we need, most of the properties that we can apply to the flex container. There are still properties that we can apply to the flex item themselves, and those basically you can do things. Yeah, you can still do display. You can still do um, display property. You can still convert the child into a flex box, right? So for instance, if I wanted to center these letters, the numbers, I can, I can use it to, this align the number. So I can do something like text align should be able to fix this. So I can just say center. Okay, so it fixes it, it puts it to the center. So what if I want it to be like right at the middle? Okay, so what I can do is to convert it into a flex box. So any div at all can be a flex box, any element can be a flex box. Just give it a display property with a value of flex. Once you do that, it becomes a flex box. Now I want to align the content, so I can say justify content center. You see, it comes to the center, so it creates the justify content creates a vertical alignment. So what if I want to create actually horizontal alignment, sorry. So if I want to create a vertical alignment, I'll say align items, and I'll also get center, and cool, now we have it at the center. So something important to remember here is one, any element can be a flex box. Just give it a display property of flex. Now once you do that, the element becomes a flex box, and then you can now use flex properties on that element and on the children. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So in the next video, I'm going to show you some of the practical use cases of Flexbox, and like use cases, things, real life application of everything you've learned so far. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.